Hello and welcome back to Hop to the Top. Hope you're all doing well today as we are attempting to win the treble. That is by winning the Swiss Cup for the third time in a row, for the third time that Grasshoppers have done that in their history. So that's what we're going for, the treble, that's what I'm calling it, and fingers crossed we can do it. Now, obviously, last episode, if you were there for it, you saw us win the Swiss Super League 5 games early by beating Young Boys, which is pretty good going. Since then, we have played 3 games. It doesn't really matter because we've won all 3 of them and we've already won the league, but a 2-1 win over Zurich, a 3-2 win over Luzerne, and then a 3-0 win over Lugano. Matthew Bottles picked up a few, and actually Billy Schmitz picked up a couple goals as well, and even Patrick Hartman getting involved there with some goals, which is fantastic to see. So goals from all over the pitch. Obviously, that doesn't really change the league table at all because we won the league last time out, so that's not really changed. But a few things have changed that are perhaps of interest to you. Luzerne and Young Boys have locked out 2nd and 3rd, so we'll be qualifying for the Champions League next season. Yet to be seen who comes 2nd and 3rd, as they are still only 3 points apart with 2 games to go, but I'd imagine Luzerne will sit out and win 2nd. Basel and Luzerne are competing for 4th and 5th, and I'm not quite sure why it still says Europa Conference League, because they have both qualified for the Europa League by finishing 4th and 5th, because Toon can't catch them up. Toon are 5 points clear of Sion as well in 7th, which pretty much means that they are also qualified for Europe next season. They'll go into the Europa Conference League, so the European places for next season are pretty much locked out. You can also see that we are on plus 70 goal difference. We've scored 98 goals this season. 34 of those have come from Matthew Bottles in the league, which is fantastic. 34 goals in 34 games, 40 goals in 43 competition starts in all competitions, I should say. So he's been fantastic, but we'll talk more about the team later on in today's episode. First of all, we've got to beat Basel. So, of course, we're going to stick with the usual formation and lineup pretty much for the game against Basel. Kalas starts in goal with Gautha, Bajrami, Sterigu and Cyrus Christie starting at right back today because Felipe Cruz isn't just suspended, he's also injured for today's game. So he's going to miss it through one means or the other. Granit Xhaka and Randy Schneider start in the centre of midfield with Jerome Bernard, Alex Smith and Billy Schmitz in the attacking midfield lineup. And then, of course, the 40-goal man Matthew Bottles starts up front, hopefully adding a hat-trick to his tally today. So then, kickoff is upon us here today. It should be a neutral venue. That's what it's meant to be for the Swiss Cup final. But for whatever reason, we actually are playing in Basel Stadium, which I'm not too happy about. They've got the advantage there massively, although great early start from us there. Bottles on the ball. Can he get it out wide? No, takes it on himself, shoots and actually hits the post and goes wide. Not too far off from him, but really, I think was a little bit too selfish there. But when he's got 40 goals this season, I suppose he can afford to be selfish. As Cyrus Christie on the ball, who's leaving the club at the end of the season after just one season here, but sort of came in as emergency backup. We definitely, how has Bottles missed that? That was a terrible miss. As I was saying though, Cyrus Christie is leaving. We do need to properly sign a right back next season, and to be fair, we need to think about signing a right winger next season. Of course, we've got Billy Schmitz, but he's the best we've got, and he's only 17 years old. We need someone with a bit more experience to help us in the Champions League next season. That's what we need to sign. So we'll rotate them round, obviously, Billy Schmitz and who we bring in, but right wing has got to be a priority for us next season, I reckon. Obviously, Felipe Cruz plays at right back, but obviously he's only on loan. We can never guarantee that he's always going to be back, but I will be putting bids in for him because he is a fantastic player. But right back is also a position that we need to focus on. So the right-hand side of the field, that's where the transfer budget is going to be going this summer. We don't have that much of it because we spent so much last summer as well, so that's a little bit frustrating. So we may have to see 1 or 2 players leaving the squad. I would imagine that there are going to be bids for Randy Schneider this summer, despite he's just been given a new contract, which is fantastic, as Billy Schmitz goes all the way, nearly scores a goal. That would have been fantastic. But Randy Schneider has been given a new contract until 2029. £14,000 per week wages, which is really cheap compared to what other players are being paid. He loves the club and doesn't really want the money. He's just a fantastic player. Obviously, he's turned down 2 massive bids from Blackburn and someone else, because the Blackburn bid was £40 million the other season. And then last season, or was it the start of this season, was about £48 million someone offered, and again, he rejected their contract. So he is just Mr. Grasshopper, Randy Schneider. That's what he is. As we approach half-time, though, we've had 12 shots to Basel's 2 shots, and yet we are still 0-0, which isn't brilliant. Hopefully the second half will bring some better luck for us, as I'm going to go aggressive. Not happy with the points out there. Everyone's fired up, so fingers crossed they actually show that. Chance for us early in this second half. Randy Schneider in towards Billy Schmitz, who puts it in towards Bottles, who puts it over the bar. How many chances has Bottles had today? and yet he's not been able to finish them. He's sitting there on a 6.3 rating, which is really unusual for him. We've got Patrick Hartman on the bench, who has scored recently, to come on. Gauther has just picked up a knock, so we'll probably take him off for Jordan Boone in just a second, as Randy Schneider into the middle, cleared. Billy Schmitz, though, on the ball. Granit Xhaka shoots from distance, and only his third goal of the season, but that's a special one in the Swiss Cup final. Absolute pile driver from about 25 yards out into the back of the net. We go 1-0 up against Basel, and the triple treble is looking even more likely right now. Was it a first-time effort from him? No, it was a first-time effort from him. What a shot that was on his left foot. First-time effort. Beautiful stuff. We're going to take Gauther off the pitch for Jordan Boone, and the Bottles looking nervous. He's going to come off for Patrick Hartman as well. Obviously, though, it's only a 1-goal lead. We need to do better than that, so we're going to look to try and double it right now as Billy Schmitz plays it in towards Alex Smith. Patrick Hartman on the ball, his first touch that we've seen on camera. Great ball into Randy Schneider, who puts it just wide of the post. He's on 16 goals this season, Randy Schneider. 16 goals. I mean, quite a few of them probably are penalties. Where is the penalty bit on here? Oh, there, penalties. He's scored 4. Yeah, scored 4 penalties, missed 2 by looks of things. So actually, 12 goals have come from open play, which is that's fantastic. His average rating of 7.64 is just mind-boggling as well. It's like such a good average rating. It also makes me think, is potential in Football Manager dynamic? Because, like, Randy Schneider has developed into what I would say is a world-class player. He's been absolutely fantastic. We're about to lift the title. I've just noticed the clock ticking, so we're going to go for TV so we can actually see this happening. The clock has ticked away pretty quickly as I was talking about Randy Schneider there. Corner comes in, cleared only as far as Jerome Bernard. Granit Xhaka in the middle again. Hartman's header saved on the line there, unfortunately. We're not too fussed about this, though. Let's just get this over with. I want to see us lift the trophy. Granit Xhaka, corner from the other side, cleared, and that probably is going to be that as Randy Schneider, as we were talking about a minute ago, with 16 goals to his name this season from central midfield. What an effort, and I think he's a world-class player, but I wouldn't imagine, I don't think he's a world-class player in real life, though. I don't think he's deemed to be a world-class player in future. So it always makes you think, is the potential in Football Manager dynamic like that? If you actually know the answer to that, please do let me know, as Basel are offside there, and that is full time. For the 3rd time in a row, we have won the Swiss Cup, and we have completed the triple treble by being the first Swiss club to win the Swiss Cup 3 times in a row. That's probably not even a thing. Like, no one is probably bothered by that at all, but apart from me, obviously. I seem to be really bothered by that, but I think that's a pretty big achievement. So, fantastic stuff. And also, I've just got an achievement to say do a double. That's the first time we've done the double, is it? So I've just been given the achievement for doing a double, but I thought we'd done a double before by winning the league in 2022-23. And then, if we look at the Swiss Cup, 2022-23, we won it. So I'm not quite sure why I've only just been given the achievement. We've done that before, but I'll take it now. Either way, we've been given a measly £310,000 for winning the Swiss Cup. We need more prize money. We need plenty more prize money. Again, that medal thing is really weird. I'm not quite sure what that's about, but medals again for players. 3 times in a row for Grasshoppers, which is fantastic. The board absolutely love me. Xhaka shines as he scored the winning goal, obviously. Someone's been looking for players for the Swiss squad, which is good stuff. A bonus paid out to the squad of 170k, and then we've won it. You love to see it. So I've got to say, that is a pretty successful season. We've got 2 more league games to play, but I'm not going to do this on camera because there's no point. We've won everything we possibly can win. We aren't unbeaten this season, unfortunately, so we're not going to go for an invincible season. But that's obviously an aim to have for next season, try and go invincible. What I do want to talk about, though, is the players. And some of these players this season have been magnificent. Of course, Matthew Bottles, after having, I've got to say, last season, a pretty lacklustre season. He only scored 11 goals in all competitions last season. It was rubbish. And then we just changed from inside forwards to wingers, and all of a sudden, he's a 40-goal-a-season striker. What a play he's turned out to be. Also contributed with a good 5 assists as well, which is not bad going, I've got to say. So we are going to be holding on to Matthew Bottles for the foreseeable future, unless a bid of like £100 million comes in, because that does change things. In second place for goals, though, is Randy Schneider. 16 of those from central midfield is absolutely incredible, I've got to say. And Coley has turned things around too, because he had a terrible season last year as well, but has turned it around, and mostly being a bit of either a winger or a backup striker, has managed to get 14 goals and 6 assists. And this is the thing with Coley. He's wanted by young boys, and they're willing to pay about £10 million. That's what a news article told me not long ago. So, like, I'm kind of happy to let Coley go for that money because he is only 2.5 stars, and he's not going to improve in the future. But he is just a solid backup player. He's been fantastic every season, apart from last season where he only got 4 goals in weird circumstances or whatever, but he has been incredible. I mean, looking at his average ratings, this is just about his best season, joint with his first season with us. So I feel like if we can get the money for Coley, we let him go, and we can bring in someone else who can, be back up to Bottles and things like that. But at the same time, he does score goals and get assists. Also, I really do think that Jerome Bernard was a bit of an inspired signing. He's got 9 goals and 15 assists this season. He's actually got, the most assists this season, which is fantastic stuff. So I think he's been a quality signing for us. Schneider up there with 12 assists. Alex Smith with 9 assists, which is a few more than I thought he had, actually, to be fair. And Granit Xhaka with 8 as well. Billy Schmitz, although not playing that many games, I've got to say, 7 assists from 12 appearances. That's pretty decent going, Billy Schmitz. So perhaps we don't have to panic too much about a winger next season because he's obviously providing the assists quite nicely. Obviously, I still will look to buy a winger, but Billy Schmitz, those underlying stats have made me feel quite comfortable, actually, with him playing at right wing. I tell you what, actually, I mean, Felipe Cruz, we sing his praises, but actually, when you consider 28 games this season, 0 goals, 4 assists, that's not brilliant from a wing back. I mean, he's doing his job defensively because we've hardly conceded any goals this season, but he has spent a lot of his time suspended and a lot of time injured as well. And when you compare it to like his previous campaigns with us, where he's got 14 assists there in all competitions and 5 goals, and the season after that 7 and 1, he's gone downhill a little bit, although his average ratings have stayed very similar, so perhaps I'm being a bit harsh on him, but still. Felipe Cruz, hopefully we're back next season, but we have to bring in someone else too. Let's look at the value. Felipe Cruz valued the most, then Randy Schneider, and then Lars Jacobs, who will play more games next season. Obviously came in for £19 million this season. Hasn't really had much of an opportunity to make his impact just because of how good Schneider and Xhaka are. Lars Jacobs will play more than Xhaka next season, I imagine. Augusto, valued at £9.5 million. Is he a player we now want to maybe think about moving on? To be fair, though, it has been his best season at the club, so maybe not. I'm just looking at the star ratings, you see, and he's not got that much room to grow anymore. He's a leading player for the league, but I'm just thinking that perhaps we could get better in than him. But of course, that remains to be seen because it's very hard to bring in some better players than that. But overall this season, the team have really kicked on. I think the transfers we brought in, obviously the transfers we brought in have had a huge impact. And of course, Matthew Bottles playing well has had a huge impact. But we've gone, if we look at the table, we've gone from, last season with 70 points, season before that 75 points, season before that 80 points. We've had downward in terms of our points. We've gone downwards, backwards in terms of our points. This season, with 2 games to go, we're on 90 points. A 100-point season is, I think that's well within our reach in the next couple of seasons. I think we've really kicked on this season. So domestically, I don't think we've got too much to worry about. But obviously, the focus now is turning towards European football more and more. And we need to invest for that as well. So there's still got to be transfers being made. Unfortunately, if we look at the finances, we've only been given £15 million to spend. So we need to think carefully how we're going to spend the money because we've not got that much of it compared to last season, where I think we had about £30 million to start off with, then sold some players to have even more money to spend about £50-60 million in the end. This time around, we've got to be a bit more frugal with how we spend our money. So that's why also we may have to send 1 or 2 players out and, make some money that way too. Either way, today's result caps off a pretty fantastic season for us. Doing a double is what we want to do. So good stuff there. And hopefully we're going to make some good progress next season in Europe as well. If we can get through that first knockout round of the Champions League, I think that's an improvement and we can be pretty pleased with that. Either way, I'm going to play the final 2 games of the season, then go into summer and try and make some decent transfers. So I'll be with you tomorrow, I suppose, for the next episode, which will be next season, which is exciting. So thank you ever so much for watching today's video. I hope you have enjoyed it. And if you have done, please do drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. And I'll see you next time with some more Hop to the Top. So until then, have a good one. Goodbye.